Good morning and welcome to Kramer's Corner Daily Technical Update. It is Thursday the 26th of June. This video is for educational purpose only. There's no recommendation or advice whatsoever intended. I do apologize for the late publication time. It is due to the fact that I have some issues with my Camtasia recording system after an upgrade. It simply stops recording the screen, so I'm struggling a little bit here. So this is actually the second recording I'm doing this morning because the other one didn't record the screen correctly. So let's start with, let's hope this one is working, and let's start with Apple. That is basically trading sideways, has done that for the better part of a month now. And it is not Apple that is lifting the US market, it is semiconductors primarily. They have been on the fire lately, and Nvidia, we talked about Nvidia yesterday, it is now in a new all-time high. But Apple here, 206.25, it needs to close above that level to establish a bullish trend. RSI needs to close above 60 threshold, or it needs to close above a bit below 193.25 to continue its slightly falling trend here, and then thereby resuming downtrend. For now, wait for breakout. The 100 moving average coming down, the 200 putting a lid on a potential upside. On the overall index, the Nasdaq 100 tested the upper rising trend line here yesterday. Pre-market, we are up a little bit, about 0.25%, but that's not much to talk about, as you can see here, pushing a little bit higher. RSI is still in a positive sentiment. Go back to the actual index, just below the falling trend line there. So there's a little bit of trend exhaustion indication, but we are still in a bullish trend and trust the trend for now. If we're looking at the S&P 500, I also tested the upper rising trend line there yesterday, and pre-market we are up just a tad there also. So it seems like we are about to crawl higher, but it is a little bit fragile. But overall, the trend is bullish, as we can also see here on Dow Jones. If we're looking at the Nasdaq 100 again, just to illustrate, 55 moving average coming up, probably crossing over the 100 moving average today, both rising. So we have a little bit of a gold cross there. And the key thing is, if 55 moving average crosses above the 200 and they're both rising, then we have a very strong signal of a potential summer rally on the US markets. In Asia, interestingly, or surprisingly, the Hang Seng was lower after closing higher here the day before. We are still in a bullish trend. RSI struggling a little bit, we're still positive sentiment. I still believe we'll see a push up to around 25,000 here. Next few days we have the 55 and the 100 moving average still rising. Nikkei pushed much higher this morning, around 1.5% higher, and I think we could reach 40,000, possibly a little bit higher here in the coming days, and going into next week's possibly also. So fairly strong move indeed. We talked about it, and as long as it stays above 38,000, then it is the bullish trend is intact. In Europe, the EUROStoxx50 has opened more or less unchanged, so it's struggling a little bit here and caught between 5,345, 5,199 in this range here. You can see the 55 moving average is pushing higher. The 100 is virtually flat, so I think we'll be stuck range bound here for a little while. The DAX index opened a little bit higher, but still it needs to close above 23,740 to establish a bullish trend. And then it could slide low. You can also see 55 moving average and 100 coming up there. So the underlying trend is bullish. So I think it's just a question of time. But I want confirmation of a close above 23,740. Moving on to the Forex market and euro dollar that broke above and closed above the resistance there at 116.35 yesterday, continuing higher. And looking at the weekly chart, we can see what's really going on, pushing towards 117, which we're actually testing at the moment. I think we will be looking at 118, possibly higher. And if we zoom out, we can see where we actually are. We are back here in this range around 2021. I think we will see it pushing towards 118 and possibly also higher if we also at a let's see, at a horizontal line right there in this region here. So around 119, I wouldn't be surprised. There's positive sentiment on the weekly and on the daily, and we are likely to push higher to 161.8 projection of this correction there. So it seems like we are really pushing towards 118, 119 on your dollar. Sterling dollar also same picture more or less, broke higher yesterday above its minor resistance there at 136.35, and it has reached 138.2 projection. I think we'll push higher, but there's a bit of resistance here at 137.50. Could be a little bit of a struggle, but I think we will see it pushing higher in the coming days and weeks. Euro sterling, on the other hand, sliding a little bit lower, but keeps itself above 38.2 retracement at 85. If we see it pushing below it, well, then we could be looking at 84.60 level. Dollar yen sliding lower after it was rejected up here, failed to close above 146.30, and I think we will see a test of the rising trend line here fairly soon. Could be today actually. RSI got rejected at 60 threshold, could be testing 40. If it breaks below the rising trend line there, then I think the key support at 142 will come under pressure. Euro yen stalling. There is a little bit divergence here, as you can see. RSI values declining, market closed higher, so we are stalling a little bit. So we could see it's a little bit of a setback to the 167, 166.50 area. If it takes out 167, 169, 70, 75, well, then there is potential higher, and we can see here on the weekly we are actually in a bullish trend with no divergence on the RSI, indicating likely higher levels, but it's stalling a little bit at the moment. Aussie yen still hasn't broken above the 94.85 resistance, and that will be key for next push up to 95.75, and I think we actually see it sliding lower now here the next few days. Sterling yen in a bullish trend, slightly divergence as we can see here. Let me just demonstrate it for you. We have there and there we are. So you can see RSI values declining, market moved higher, so we are struggling a little bit, but there should be room up to 199, maybe 200 area, and I think we could reach that. However, if it slides back below 196.40, well, then this bullish trend has been demolished. Aussie yen, I think we will see, Aussie dollar, of course, Aussie dollar, I think we will see a test of 65.55 resistance, 65.50. It has been in the making for some time, and I added this Fibonacci, this correction move here, and if it breaks above, then I think we'll see it push up to the 138.2 projection at 66.20. Dollar Canada, let me just reset it. There we are. Dollar Canada slightly lower. Key support down here at 136.30, 35. Which is also the 61.8 retracement. I think we could test that. Still negative sentiment on the RSI, and there's no divergence indicating dollar Canada is likely to resume downtrend and push lower. Sterling Canada pushed higher yesterday, broke above the resistance there, and is on its way to 138.2 projection. I actually think it will move higher towards the 161.8 at 189.30. 35, and if we're looking at the weekly, we can see it is actually just continuing its medium-term or longer-term bullish trend. EURSwiss, well, EURSwiss is still trading in this range here between 94.50 and 93. So let's move on to dollar Swiss, which is actually much more interesting. It has broken below its low here at 80.40. And it seems destined to push lower towards 79 and also lower. 138.2 projection of this entire correction here seems to be in the cards. Whether we get there is of course debatable. We have falling trend lines there we can add, and maybe that will give us a little bit of direction, but we are in a declining channel or falling channel. RSI pushing lower, also negative sentiment supporting the bearish picture. Dollar index also pushing lower here, opening lower, and I think we'll see it down to 96 here fairly shortly. So a dollar is really being weakened at the moment, but now there's also RSI building up, so maybe it is an exhaustive move, but for now it is definitely down with lower lows and lower highs. You can see lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high, and lower low. So a beautiful trend there. Gold bounced from the 55 moving average and the 3,293 support, but it needs to get back above 3,400 to resume uptrend, and we still have this top and reversal in place, so it will be a little bit of a struggle. However, we are still in a positive sentiment, but as we can see, there's also divergence. So it is a little bit of a struggle, to be honest. But if RSI also gets back above 60 threshold, then we are likely to see the gold pushing higher. Silver slowly crawling higher or bouncing further after bouncing from the 35.45 support. If it takes out the lows here from a few days ago at 35.28, then we are looking at 34.80. But for now, it seems that we are resuming uptrend. And one metal that has resumed uptrend is platinum, that is pushing higher, and then we really need to, okay, where can it actually move to? And if we are zooming out here on the weekly chart, we can see that we really need to go really far back and let me just move to the monthly chart. Maybe that's better. Here we are to around 1520. 1520 is the area here, possibly 1520, 1500. So around that, it seems like we are headed for to that level on platinum. Copper pushing higher after closing about 495 yesterday. We talked about it, was flirting with it, and I said if it closes above the RSI also closed above 60 threshold, so it's not pushing higher, and I think we can see a move towards 520, 530, maybe higher on copper. So metals really on the move at the moment. On the energy side and WTI crude oil, we can see what's actually has been going on the weekly. Got rejected there at 78.46 resistance. Now we are bouncing a little bit, but not much. Still below the 100 moving average. That is declining. 200 also declining, but 55 coming up here. So we could be caught range bound in this area here between 64 and 67, 68 for some time. Until maybe a new event could spark something. Brent Crude also, you can see it got rejected there at 81.59 on the weekly, and also here 55 moving average coming up, 100 coming down, so we could be stuck range bound here between 66.5 and up to around 70, maybe a little bit higher. The European gas sliding lower, and I think we could see a test of 33.80 support down here fairly soon. We are now back below the cloud. If RSI also closes back below 40 threshold, well, then we will have the bearish trend resuming and confirms. The US nat gas that bounced from the 200 moving average could be stuck range bound here between 350 and 375. Treasury yields and US 10-year Treasury yields sliding lower below the rising 200 moving average, which means I think the downside is limited, and I think we will see it getting down to 423, 420, where we also have the lower part of the cloud over here going into July. RSI negative sentiment, so it indicates lower levels. But let's see, maybe it will bounce a little bit from there. If it takes out 420, well, then suddenly we're back here to 412. The 2-year also down here at the moment, not much to report really at 380, but also in the bearish trend. And if we're moving on to the EU 10-year, still trading around the 250 area here, 253. But it needs to close above 260 for bullish trend and below 240 for bearish trend. So it seems to be moving in a tighter and tighter range here. The UK 10 is a continuous bearish trend, could be testing 442, support 440, and the really strong one here at 438 could come under pressure, but I'm not quite sure it will. Then I think we will see a bounce before then. And finally, as usual, cryptos and Bitcoin pushing higher, and I think we'll get back to the 110,000 fairly shortly. after this strong bounce of 100,000. If it takes out 112, then we're looking at 120,000 area. Ethereum also bouncing. I think we'll move up to the 61.8 retracement here at 25.87 fairly soon. Rising 55 moving average is indicating and supporting that. Unless it suddenly turns around and moves back below 2300, then the bearish trend could resume. All right, that's all for today. Again, sorry about this late publication time. It is due to my Camtasia video recording that is really acting up and suddenly stops recording my screen. Let's hope this one has worked. Have a nice day.